What up, what up, what up, what up, everybody, man? Welcome back to the Man Cave with me, Cedric Edison, and my main man, Ron Serving. We appreciate y'all joining us. Ron, I'm going to just jump in real quick, man. What's up with you over there on the West Coast, baby?
Oh, West Coast. You know what? I think we're the COVID capital right now. We're setting the bar for exposures and all that kind of stuff. So it's not one of those things we want to do, but we're doing it. But I'm good. Just trying to be safe, trying to be conscious, trying to show up in the best version of myself. Not always doing that, but just being mindful of that. And just great to be here. Great to be in this space that we call the Man Cave Experience. And appreciate you, the listeners, just for popping in, seeing what we got to chop up here. Appreciate you, Sed, for being my partner in crime, and just love to hear what's shaking in your world out there in Texas.
Man, it's hot, man. It's hot as the devil's feet out here, bro. I'm telling you. Man, that's really it, man. Just really trying to rock and groove through this heat and still trying to get this nonprofit thing up and running in the midst of COVID, because it's a hands-on type of project. So but still, man, it's all good. It's all good. And that's crazy, that I even talked about that, because that's a perfect segue into what we're talking about today, y'all. Because we hear it, especially in today's music, all over the place. You hear it, man. Stay in your lane or get in your lane. And props off to you for bringing that to the table, Ron, as a topic. And whenever you bring a topic, I always gotta ask. I'm always curious, like what was going on, like where was your head at? What made it come about?
I mean, when you just asked me that, I think initially I go to driving. So I'm like, it's like thinking about staying in our lane and how do we, be a more peaceful driver. That's something I can always do better on. But for me, it's like, I'm just thinking about my life as it sits here right now. And, I've got so many different things that I'm, taking actions on in my life, even though I'm semi-retired and living a purposeful, balanced life, which I still feel connected to that. But I guess what I'm really trying to be aware of is, this whole idea of staying in my lane. And what I mean by that is, do I even have, a lane that I've defined as something that I'm working within? Because, as we're growing as entrepreneurs, as we're doing things in our life, or as I've done things in my life, I sometimes question myself, am I spreading myself too thin? Am I doing what I need to do to be successful in the different business ventures that I'm involved in? And I think sometimes I'm blurring those lines. I'm not really paying attention to, because we also talk about, going deep versus wide. So when I was thinking about that, I'm thinking, am I, as I'm sharing that part of, I guess, my struggle at times of making sure I'm going deep in areas that I really want to develop and grow in, and not just be busy, like doing lots of busy things, but creating more firm, lanes or boundaries or, ways that keep me focused on what I'm trying to experience in my life. And, I think that's, so you can look at it as again, boundaries. I think it's all very important for us to create boundaries in our life as we live our life. But I'm just, kind of more moving away from just the bigger picture items in our life where we're thinking about that, but just more, am I every day, trying to make sure that I'm not spilling over into areas that aren't really my expertise, and part of what I'm doing now, and I just kind of did this today, just as an example, my consulting arborist practice, which is doing very well, getting lots of activity. So I got a call from a gentleman that lives up, in a mountain area near me, probably an hour and a half drive. And he's got my name and he's like, hey, we've got this project where we've got this, 300-foot tree, and the water company's coming to me and saying they want to run this new supply line into my property, and it's right next to my tree. So I'm thinking, wow, that's a cool job. I'm going to, I've got travel time. I've got, a report to write, so my business is kind of expanding on what is possible for me to do. But then I'm like, okay, Ron, your lane is tree health, kind of focusing on that. So what I did, which I think is a step in the right direction for me is I have a fellow arborist that has what's called ground penetrating radar. And so what that does, it without being invasive, it maps the roots below the ground. So then you can make a good decision on how to manage or move forward and potentially running that line into the property. So the reason I'm telling you that is, I'm thinking, I could just go do this job. It's like, I'm an arborist and I can do this and that. It's like, stay within my lane. That's not my area of expertise. That's not my focus. I've got people that I can lean on that are in that lane, that can drive right alongside me, and we can support each other in the things that we're good at. So I think I was just kind of on my mind over the last couple of days, and I just thought it would be a great thing for us just to explore, because like for you, I mean, even being the entrepreneur, the speaker, all these things that you're doing in your life to really grow the possible things that you're wanting to experience. Where do you see your boundaries, or do you see some, definitions of where you feel like you're at your best and you're kind of fitting into this area versus kind of pushing yourself into an area where it's like, maybe not so much?
Man, that's a good question. And I knew it was going to come up at some point. For me, man, it's, I guess there are some boundaries, and I would say those are well, there's some hard boundaries and some soft boundaries. Just me, I got a joke about it, but for me, in my community, staying in your lane sometimes means get out my business, like stay in your lane. But then it could also mean, somebody trying to tell you how to do the job or whatever. But I guess an analogy that comes up for me is I see it as a highway. And there is a lane on that highway that will get you to your destination the quickest and give you the most enjoyable ride. Although it may be a crazy journey, because somebody might zoom by you or swerve into your lane. But now the thing with that, though, is one, we got to build up the courage to even go to the highway, right? And I guess if we were to kind of put that into perspective, and I'll use me, like the speaking. So speaking is the highway. Now, the many different lanes, I mean, you can be going corporate or just attacking small businesses. There's people that's going trio, high school, whatever the case. Now, that's your lane. And I guess I envision, you have to put the blinker on and start to merge over. And sometimes it's the merging and trying to get over to your lane and trying to figure it out. And that's usually how it goes. We have to figure out that one that's comfortable for us. And well, before that, which highway am I trying to get on, right? Like for me, I'm in the high school and college market. And right now, trying to define my lane and draw those boundaries is a part of me trying to understand more who I am and being able to confidently present just said versus trying some structural thing, if that makes sense.
Right. And I think, I was just thinking about just wear and tear, like on a highway, and how over time, right, we become comfortable. We're traveling the same road every day, and we don't realize underneath our tires, the concrete or the pavement's getting degraded, and we just kind of go about our business. It's kind of that same thinking about just staying in our own lanes in our life. It's like, we can get over comfortable, we can get over confident, and we start losing perspective on keeping that solid surface below us and feeling, almost like that resiliency that may not be long lasting. So it's like sometimes we got to repave that road. Sometimes we got to widen the road. Sometimes we got to decide, like you said, there's maybe a detour or an option here to go one way or the other, and then I've got a decision to make. So I think, when we decide to, have this understanding about staying in our own lane, it's also about, do I want to at some point expand my horizon? Do I want to get on the interstate? Do I want to, be in the carpool lane? Do I want to tag along somebody else that's going to get me to where I'm going? So, just a way to think about, and just some terminology that gives you, the listener, and us, just a way to kind of picture in our mind. And oftentimes when we can picture things in our mind, this road that we're on, staying within the parameters that we've initially created, to really focus our energy. Because if we become too erratic, we're all over the road, we're going down multiple roads and we don't know where that road is leading us to, we kind of water down our experience and what we really want to experience and achieve in our lives.
Well, let me ask you this though, because I kind of see it a little bit different.
Okay.
Because that motivational side of me is like, yo, like getting in your lane is finding your passion. Like, what is that thing that you could do for the rest of your life, even if you wasn't getting paid? Yeah. And you chase that one thing. That's your lane. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, I understand now, speaking is my lane. Now, on the way to accomplishing my dream, that, being able to provide a legacy for my last name, it's like I have to, I can't do anything else. You know what I'm saying? Like if I try and go and do this, then I will be unhappy. My life's not gonna, because it gets hard, and that's a part. You hit bumps in that lane, but I think you still have to stay the course. Yeah. And I don't know if you would necessarily have to repave it. I think we're just, because it should, in my mind, it should be, you're always progressing and going forward and going on to a brand new piece of the highway, but in your lane. But if I'm over and I'm trying to, like we both went to Health Coach Institute, if I consistently just try and sit back and build my business on strictly health coaching, a lot of stuff is going to be off kilter, So I'm like, I think we gotta look at it from that point of view, like, because if you're in that same space and you got to repave, then that means you just been spinning your wheels on that pavement, doing a burnout.
And what I meant by that was not that we all need to repave the roads that we're on. It was just more when we're on a certain road and we become complacent or we become, overly comfortable, we might not be willing or able or even have the tools to actually keep that road sustainable. So sometimes we have to put in some extra effort, or individuals might have to put in extra effort to really create that structure that maybe is missing for them to stay on that path, in their lane, for them to be successful. So I think there's those like you, those like myself that are very driven. We're not accepting no as an option. But I think there's a percentage of people out there that don't even know how to build their own road, don't even know how to get on their own path. And if they assume that because they built it, it's sustainable, then I think they're setting themselves up for a little bit of uncertainty, which can be uncomfortable, maybe some unpredictability. And some people can sustain that and not have it affect their overall life. Maybe they're not financially burdened. Maybe they're not worrying about some of the things that could be impactful if they don't stay on that path. They may have, they may have financial security to where it doesn't matter if I stay on my road, I'm cool and I'm good to go. I'm thinking more of that struggling person that has no career path, has no sense of vision for themselves. And to assume that because I've now put myself on a road, that now I just have to follow the road. I guess that's just for me, maybe false evidence appearing real to where that fear is, more of a driving force to say, you know what, I've got to maintain my road to a certain extent because I don't know what uncertainty is going to look like for me. I may not, be able to survive a crash. I may not be able to survive if somebody pulls out in front of me and tells me you're not worthy of this road and this path that you're on. And I think it's sometimes those limiting beliefs that people have that make them question, am I on my right path? First of all, you want me to stay in my lane, but I've got to figure out what my lane is in the first place. But I hear what you're saying. I think, you have to stay consistent. You have to be in it for the long term, knowing that at the end of the day, this is my passion. This is my purpose. I'm going to travel this road regardless because I know this is my destiny. And that's a great place to come from and be in. I'm just thinking more of those people that maybe aren't there yet, that still need some of that nurturing, some of that support that maybe they don't think this is possible as they're listening because they're nowhere near even thinking about creating their own path.
So, man, I wanted to ask 2 questions, and I'm like, man, which one do I ask first? Because now it's making me think, and we chopped it up a little bit before. You retired, you're an arborist, and you're talking about the arborist business. And I guess that's because I'm like, okay, what made you stay in that lane? And how did you pick it? And how did you maintain it? Because I'm sure at some point, you had to jump in when you were young, like my mom used to say, young, dumb, and full of calm. And you probably like days you wanted to give it up, So talk to us about it.
So just to go back a little bit in time, so I was always a kid that loved, landscape maintenance, gardening, kid pulling weeds out in the yard. So it was almost like, destiny for me to have some sort of affiliation with greenery, trees. So, and it kind of evolved into being an arborist, for 20 years for the city that I worked for. So it was something that I was, good at. People knew me for that reason. And I felt confident that that's, something that was part of who I was.
Like, did you seek out, like, how old were you, like 18, 19 when you started?
No. So I was probably 30.
So
30.
Did you seek out to be an arborist, or did you just start with the city and move around?
I was kind of more motivated by the supervisor from hell. My first director, kind of encouraged me to, this is the one thing that I kind of thank him for, was encouraging me to go finish my degree, get my bachelor's degree, but also to become an arborist. Because it was an opportunity that he felt was important for the functionality of me within the city. So I didn't really think about it at the time. It was just more, okay, I'll do that. And then it just kind of evolved into something that, created a passion. So when I retired, I was like, I'm done with that. I just, kind of been there, done that. Didn't really think about, I was in the mindset of how can I create a purposeful life? How can I live, a balanced life? How can I create some revenue to support the family and maybe create a space for my wife to retire at an age where she wants to retire and to stay active. So coaching wasn't on my radar. Consulting was not on my radar. Coaching was, and coaching still is. But, my wife was a little uncertain of what life was going to look like when I retired. She brought up about just, consider, looking into your arborist practice and what you might be able to do as far as that. And then more pivotal was a conversation with a fellow arborist that just clearly told me, it's like, Ron, you're not far from getting the highest possible credential for being, an arborist in the field. And there's not many of us out there. So I looked into it and it was like obtainable. And I figured, you know what? This is something I'm willing to try. Kind of switched my lane, kind of decided, hey, I can be on maybe a road that has, a center divider. But what's interesting about that is, and I've kind of shared this from day one, is blending the two, blending my knowledge of trees into my coaching, just nature and coaching. So it's like I'm on a similar road, but it's like expanded, like I was talking earlier. I've widened my road. I'm still staying within my lane or my lanes, but now I've got more opportunity, and I'm living a much different life as a result of, something that I didn't even think was possible. I just kind of created the foundation to make it possible, put in the effort and time, and maintain my willingness to put myself out there. And now I'm seeing the benefits of that. And it's, so one of the things that's hard for me now though is, okay, I'm not really doing a whole lot of advertising. I still want to stay focused on the other endeavors that I'm in. How do I do this and not lose what's most important to me right now? Family, connection, having the time that I have to do all these things that I want to do. And there may come a point where I may have to let go of something, or certain jobs or certain aspects of my life that, or maybe I'm not now. And I think that's, or
the bees keep the same time. Work less.
Night vision, and I can go out and inspect trees at night, and then I can work and cook during the day. That's a great question, because I think I didn't know where I was heading in my career, my life after work. I put a lot of energy and efforts and love into what I want to do, and trusting. It's been a process, and it's still a process. And again, I think it's just paying attention to the journey. As I travel down this road, as I'm paving this path, as I move forward, not looking too far ahead and building it way out in front of me. It's like building it for the present. It's staying in my lane, staying present in my car as I travel down this road of life, and stick with it.
So man, like everybody, y'all always hear me say, find that one thing that you could do for the rest of your life and not be paid for it. That's the thing you chase. So I mean, with that kind of theme concept in mind, what do you have a flip side to that? Something to add on to that? To say to that person that, like you say, that y'all did, man, I can't identify where it is. They like, man, I want to be in my lane, and or it could be, a lot of fear. They try this and try that. They all over the place, but they haven't found that one thing that can bring them joy, or the things.
It's a great question. And I think we've posed this question to each other or our clients or other people before. It's like, if time and money was not of concern, what would I be doing? So that, I think that's the destiny. It's living my life where money is not something that is even a necessity or a goal at that point. It's more living the purposeful life, like being in Catalina with my wife, working for the Conservancy, where there's, money is not something that is even, of concern at all. Like I said, and maybe I would assume it's just a volunteer type thing, and just giving myself to the island, giving myself to the people that frequent the island, and just giving myself at a much deeper level. And I think that's evolving, on my consulting level, but also the project I'm working on with the school district, just being a community leader without any type of financial connections. It's just serving others, at the highest possible level. So I think, to answer your question, you that may be listening in, it's like, if time and money was of no consequence, what might you be doing? And maybe that's something that seems to be so far out of reach right now, but can you live part of that purposeful life now? Maybe it's learning about something that you want to do. Maybe it's dabbling and spending some time reading about something you want to learn more about, eventually to engage and experience that. So it's bite-sized pieces that I feel like I'm trying to take advantage of, that is leading me into this life eventually of, okay, I've got all day to do whatever the hell I want, and it's going to be the most incredible experience possible. And that doesn't mean that I'm going to go out and rule the world. It could just be, I'm going to sit and have a conversation and lunch and sit in the backyard and spend time with my wife.
Right.
that's equally as important as going out and landing a consulting job where I'm making money.
That balance.
Find that. And having that peace of mind and that purposeful vision of what I really want to experience, what I really want to feel, how do I really want to help others without any type of strings attached.
Right. And that's crazy, man.
You're like a professional. You're like a professional interviewer. What's this all about?
Huh?
You're like a professional interviewer. You need to just lighten up.
Who me? Like, oh man, he's drilling me.
The uniqueness of our conversation, because we are so different, right?
Right.
And yet we're so much similar that we focus our energy on. I think, at least for us, how we're similar, and that's the important part of what our show represents here is, this uniqueness of us that we can share in conversation and just plant a couple seeds that you might listen to and grow from, that bring us closer together as in unity. We went through, and we're still going through, just this period of unrest, and what's going to be the new evolution out of this process that we've been going through. But I think we've both come from a place of hope and possibilities and all these things that allows us to have a path, to stay in our lane, to have all these visions of what we want to experience, yet we're bringing in people to experience that with us, that whole sense. And you are one that really exemplifies that, because you motivate people just by the way you speak, how you share, how you show up. And that just brings people together. People want to stand in front of you and learn and hear and experience what you have to offer. And that just enhances your experience. That just gives you, that feeling of, okay, I'm just being myself here. And I'm allowing, through my experience, to people to be themselves.
That's, man, you kind of took it out of my mouth, because that's what I was gonna say. Especially for the person that doesn't quite know how to find your lane, I would say first, look within, find yourself. Truth be told, like, just kind of the way I am on the show now is me trying to stay in my lane within the highway of our show. Like, this is me. Like, I gotta give pushback. If it don't make sense, I'm gonna question it. Like, if I have a different one, whereas it's like, oh no, just go through the show. Who might be watching what? No, just find out. And this is who I am. And so now it's more peaceful. It's less stressful. Now I can come on, lights, camera, let's go. It's just said, right? So yeah, like, just find out who you are and be comfortable with that, and never be afraid to become what you might be, just because you are afraid of who you might become. That was a little crazy deep, but I like, it's in my soul right now. And this is coming straight from the heart. For a long time, even through clients and speaking, I was afraid of who I would be if I stayed in this lane, and how people might perceive me and receive me. But what I'm finding is, the more I sit in me, the more receiving I am to others. It's almost unexplainable. But
and I think we also have to be open to, and at least understand, when others try to take us out of our lane because of their uncomfortability or their lack of direction in their own life. It's, I think we have to be careful about making that about us. We want people to accept, we want people to notice us. How can we really select those authentic people that we know are the ones that are supporting that journey, versus the ones that are trying to knock you into the next lane or say, this is my lane. Why are you in my lane? This is my lane.
I think you just helped me come up with the next topic around accountability. And then I just finished the audio book and getting it transcribed, so that too. But yeah, man, it's a lot about the people we're around too. But that'll be a whole nother topic.
The other thing, and this is kind of my last little blurb, and then I'll say my goodbyes to everybody. It's just, and we've talked about this before here. It's like, who am I being when I'm at my best? You know, when you're at your best, because we've all been at our best one time in our life, at least one time. And we can look at that experience and say, gosh, this is how I felt. This is who I was being. This is the emotions that I was feeling, experiencing. You know, that's going to give you a sign of maybe how to create that lane for yourself. Because this road that you're going to put yourself on, this lane that you want to work within, needs to be something that's your passion, something that you would do anything to stay connected to it. And that could be just whatever you feel is connected to you. So just use that as a guiding way to think about, who am I being when I'm at my best, and be able to answer that question, not as a homework assignment, just maybe be open to when that answer comes up to you and just be aware of it. It's like, God, I've never thought about that. Maybe I need to notice who I'm being. And you, the listener, again, this is just us having a conversation, creating open space for you to then decide for yourself, because you're not Cedric, you're not Ron, you're you, and that's amazing, but just creating your own life. And this is just us creating this space for you, making you realize that this is you allowing yourself to experience everything you're destined to live. So thank you, Ced, for the amazingness that you always are. I love you as the interviewer, and trying to learn more and more about how to fine-tune my style as an interviewer. So thank you for your amazing questions, and just thank you for being the man in my life that I appreciate as a brother, as a friend, as somebody that I can really lean on and depend on to be there for me whenever I need something. So I appreciate that.
Man, much love. Back at you, man. Right back at you. Y'all know what it is, man. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. My last little tidbit to piggyback off of Ron. Ask yourself, how can I be at my best, or who am I being when I'm at my best? And if you're stuck and not sure on how or who you need to be, approach it from this angle. I would invite you to approach it from this angle. Ask yourself, how can I XYZ? How can I be the best? But instead of just getting stuck at, I don't know. Because that one question is propelling me to, like Ron say, why expand my lane and get me further down my lane and deeper within myself to be able to better serve the world. That one question, it's a not accepting no and get the hell in your lane. So how can I find my lane? How can I get in my lane? How can I do whatever? And just let your mind play around with that, and it'll start to click for you. Yeah, man, that's it. I gave it on my heart. So yeah, y'all, we appreciate it. We appreciate it, Ron. You know, I always appreciate you, man. If y'all didn't already, go ahead and hit the like, subscribe button. Y'all can check us out over on YouTube if you ever miss it. And we're getting ready to launch the actual podcast that you'll be able to get on Spotify here soon. It's in the works, y'all. It's in the works. It's coming. It's coming. So until next time, y'all, we love you, and we'll see you.